Elden Ring!
Elden Ring!
Oh, Elden Ring! Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the CrabCast with my good friend Travis D from BeatThatBoss.blogspot.com. Travis, say hello for the good people.
Hello, everyone. Good to talk to you guys.
So, for people who are deep fans of the show, you would know that we actually did do a podcast before called the Beat That Boss Cast based on his blog, and then we never did anything after the third episode.
Technical errors.
So, I don't even know where to start, honestly, because there's a lot of shit that came out recently. You have Sifu, you have Horizon, Elden Ring, Witch Queen. The Steam Next Fest was last week. There's a whole fucking bunch of shit. So,
Dude, February is insane.
It's insane.
It has been insane.
It's insane. And Shadow Warrior 3 is next week.
I know. March is looking hot, too.
Followed by Final Fantasy Origin on the 14th and the 25th. Then on the 25th, you got fucking Kirby Puyo Mata.
Yeah, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Jesus Christ, there's too much. There's too fucking much.
A lot of stuff.
So, anyway, I just thought we'd cover up some, because obviously the big thing we want to talk about is Elden Ring. But I want to save that for a little bit. Stave that off, because that's going to probably be the best thing we're talking about this whole podcast. All right. So, first things first. Travis, what have you been up to? What have you been playing? What have you been watching?
All right. Well, I've been watching on HBO. I've been watching Peacemaker.
Yes.
It's been actually pretty good. I've been really enjoying it. I just finished the last episode. Just a solid superhero show with heart. Really enjoyed it.
Can we just say too, thank God it was only 8 episodes. They didn't feel the need to drag it out to like the average 10 or 13, like a lot of shows try to do.
Perfect amount. Yeah, 100%. Like that was the correct amount for that exact show. So I'm psyched that they did that. I've been playing. I grinded Destiny pretty hard. Played the new expansion. The Witch Queen is out. I'm a huge Destiny guy, and this expansion was great so far. The story is the best campaign they've done in a while, especially with the legendary campaign mode was great.
Yeah,
I'm already. I was raid ready for this next raid in less than 12 hours after I finished the story.
That's insane.
Which is just really nice, because like now I can play Elden Ring without worrying about whether or not I'm going to be leveled for the raid.
Because when I played, like, what I remember was that it used to be that you had to do an entire goddamn week of grinding to even attempt to get raid ready. And even then, sometimes it just wouldn't even work properly. You get fucked over by not getting the one piece you needed. So the fact that you're able to do that in 12 hours is fantastic. Like,
it really is.
That's a really good change.
It definitely is. And the way that they're doing it now with capping everyone's light was a great way to go. So really enjoying that. I'd say that I think everything about the expansion is a pretty big success. I think crafting is a little bit limited. Weapon crafting is awesome. Like the systems are great, but it's you can't do as much as like I was hoping quite yet. We still have to kind of wait for after the raid, because they always drop a bunch of shit after the raid happens. So I don't want to say too much about that yet, but everything else has been great so far with that.
Right.
Aside from those two, I recently grinded right before Destiny and right before Elden Ring. I grinded out Hades for a long time for the first time.
I've been trying to get this motherfucker to play Hades for the better part of a year, even though knowing full well it wasn't on PlayStation when I was bothering him about it. But now that it was on, he finally got it. He finally played it.
Yeah, it was excellent. It was really, really good. I'm extremely impressed. The amount of story that just keeps going and going.
There's
like
so much dialogue in that game.
I've gotten the true ending. That's 10 runs completed, no doubt. I'm still getting new dialogue, new story, new upgrades. The game just doesn't end. It's very, very impressive. So
I have to say, it's probably Supergiant's best game.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the only one I've actually completed, so I would agree.
Have you ever played Bastion?
I didn't play Bastion. I didn't play Pyre. I played Transistor for a little while, but I didn't really get into it, and that's just because I didn't like something else came out. But
Right. Yeah,
I'm gonna go back now.
I didn't play Pyre either. I should probably check that out though.
Yeah.
But I played
So
Bastion, I played Transistor. I love both of them, but
yeah, I mean they. I mean, again, after playing Hades, I am now much more interested in going back and checking out their previous titles because a lot of people, yourself included, have been telling me that they make some really quality games.
bangers,
And
all of
after
them.
experiencing what Hades is, like, I'm definitely in for that.
You should
So
definitely check out Bastion since that's their first game. Like, absolutely, that should
yeah,
be your next one. And it's not very long. Like, you'll be able to get that out in, like, maybe like a weekend or two.
okay, cool. But yeah, that's basically what I've been up to. How about you, man?
Well, so the couple things I want to talk about first is like you know me, I like shooters, specifically boomer shooters are pretty cool. I like those games. And there were a couple that I was keeping my eye on for the last like 6 months or so. One being Turbo Overkill and the other being Scathe. These are both retro boomer shooters that are heavily based off of games like Quake and 93 Doom.
Okay.
And last week, or maybe a week before, I'm the timeline is kind of muddied in my brain right now. But Steam launched their Next Fest, and what that is it's a celebration where a bunch of indie developers start putting out demos for the games they are making, saying, "Hey, everyone, this is what we've been working on. Come check this out." There's a bunch of demos that are just out to play, but I didn't have time for that because I was busy playing Horizon, which I'll get to in a minute, and now Elden Ring, which I will also get to in a minute. But
Yeah.
first, I want to talk about Turbo Overkill and Scathe. So,
Nice, man.
Turbo Overkill I want to talk about first because it's the one I liked the most. Turbo Overkill is basically a cyberpunk Doom clone, essentially. Your character,
Okay.
you are going through a dystopian cyberpunk city, and you have a chainsaw leg. Now, one of the things I like a lot is that your dash is indicated by your chainsaw leg, and the way it works is the more enemies you run over with your chainsaw leg, the faster you go because the blood fuels the chainsaw.
Wow, that sounds like an interesting mechanic.
It's super fun. I've only played like 30 minutes of it so far because once again, I was trying to finish off Horizon as best I can, so I wouldn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, right.
But overall, first impressions of Turbo Overkill are really good. I'm really looking forward to playing the final product when it releases. I still need to finish. What's it called? Ultra Kill, but I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon. That game is kicking my ass as well. But the other game, Scathe, ah, I'm gonna be honest, I did not like it very much.
Oh, okay.
So the biggest issue with it is it's clearly a Doom clone. It's clearly inspired by Doom. That's their idea.
Sure.
But there's a point where like there's games where you see they're clearly ripping it off and it's good, and then they're clearly ripping it off and it's bad.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a difference between like getting like inspiration from it, and then there's like actually ripping it up.
Like if you look it up, you know what? Let me just grab a screen cap of the shotgun before I start talking about the demo at all, because you need to see exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Scathe shotgun, because you play Doom, and I know you've seen gameplay of a Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
Like, why is a Destiny gun showing up? What the fuck?
Scathe lock.
Oh my god, it is a Scathe lock.
Yeah, the auto rifle.
Oh my god. Man. All right,
that's funny.
Just take a look at this, and you'll see what I mean. Because like, there's a point where it's just ripping. Like it literally looks like a Chinese clone.
Yeah, that does, man. That does not look like it's fresh. Yeah.
And like I was willing to be like, okay, whatever, right? It's like if they're playing into it, that's fine. They really kind of are playing into it, to be fair. But my issue is that the gameplay isn't as tight as Turbo Overkill. It's floaty. The machine gun feels like it definitely needs more time in the oven. So I'm hoping that when the full product eventually comes out, it will be better. But right now, I'm a little lukewarm on it, which is the
All
shame.
right. Well, yeah. I mean, if they can tighten it up, still they still have an opportunity to do that. So hopefully they can get that done.
Yeah, and before we get into Horizon and Elden Ring, I want to talk about a third demo I played. Now, this was not part of Steam's Next Fest. This came out on the 25th or the 24th. It was like a day or so before Elden Ring dropped.
Okay.
Do you remember a little game called Babylon's Fall?
Yeah, I do know it. It
Yeah,
rings a bell.
yeah. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it. It was that platinum character action game that was revealed like 3 or 4 odd years ago, and we heard nothing
Right.
about
That come
it.
out? I don't think that, is that out yet?
And then when it was re-revealed, the art style changed, the gameplay changed, and it was turned into a live service action RPG, co-op action RPG.
Right.
So the demo is out. It releases next week, and I played the demo, hoping that okay, it is platinum, but man, live service games, they don't have a good track record.
No.
And this is not going to change that.
Oh, really?
So, the gameplay feels good, but there's a lot of issues. The art style, I get what they were going for. They wanted to take inspiration from I think it's not medieval, Victorian era style painting, like oil paintings.
Sure.
Like that's the art style.
Yeah.
But like in motion, it doesn't work. And as I found out, the game is horribly balanced for single player.
How so?
Okay, so in their, I'm going to use this comparison because they themselves have been using this comparison in their promotional material. They say we take a lot of inspiration from Monster Hunter and how that game handles its fights and how that game handles enemy balance, right?
Yeah.
And you played Monster Hunter, at least World, so you know the way Monster Hunter works is when you're by yourself, the monster's health bar and values are set to a certain number, and it increases with the number of people that join your squad.
Right, yeah.
Right? It's a good metric of making sure that, hey, while it's easier with a player, it's not going to be a steamroll.
Yeah, that's literally how the Destiny Legendary campaign works, so I gotcha.
Yeah. Babylon's Fall does not do that. From what I can tell, everything is always at the highest difficulty, regardless of how many people are in your squad. So if you're playing to play this single player or solo, or you don't have friends to play with, you're gonna have a bad time. Taking 25 or so minutes to take down like maybe a tenth of an enemy's health bar is not fun.
No, it's not.
And then like there's issues with the combat as well. Because like I said, it feels good, but here's the thing: they had a system where it's kind of like it kind of reminded me of Darkness, if you remember that
I remember
FPS.
that.
Yeah, you know, like you can control the demon arms with L2 and R2 while your guns akimboing. It was fun. It was fucking awesome. They have a similar thing where while you're doing your light and heavy attacks with like a square and triangle or X and Y for people on Xbox, you also can use the triggers to use other weapons in your retainer. Right?
Yeah, okay.
And that's neat. That feels good. But here's the thing. There are only 4 weapon types in the game.
Well, wow, and that's it?
You have a sword, a hammer, a great sword, and and I think a spear.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
In a loot dungeon crawling game.
I mean, yeah, I guess they could, if they put enough variety into them, but 4 seems low, especially for a live service.
From what I've seen, all the gameplay attacks are identical. It's like even Godfall had more variety.
Well, that's what I was about to compare it to, is that I was playing I've been recently so I got a PS5 like
that's right, you finally got one after a year and a half.
Yeah, like a month and a half ago, so I've been just jamming all the PS5 games. And one of them was Godfall, and apparently, I don't know, the updates and stuff definitely made it feel better, I guess, compared to the original state of it. But regardless of that, they only have 5 weapon types, but there's enough variety with all the different stuff that you can do with all the weapons that it's okay. I don't know. 4 seems, but for a live service game that's like doing that, I don't know, it seems odd.
Yeah, the other issue I have is that it is very aggressive in its monetization scheme. Even in the demo, you can see the battle pass. It has a premium currency, and it's $60 on top of that. It's like I was really hoping Platinum Games could make this work, but clearly not.
That's too bad.
And it should have been apparent when they had to go to the Square Enix Final Fantasy team for help with armors. Like I think that says a
Okay.
lot. Because if you remember
Yeah.
like there was that controversy a couple months ago where like people were saying, "Hey, that armor looks exactly like the starting adventure gear in FF14. What's going on with that?" And then it came out that yeah, they reached out to Yoshi P and his team for help.
Really? Okay. Well, that's weird.
Yeah, exactly. So like that's not good. Like I really wish Square Enix would stop this push for live service games when they already have a successful one.
Yeah.
FF14.
It
Stop
feels like
it.
they're the only publisher that really hasn't figured it out yet. Like if you like live service games are rare that they succeed. And the more games that you have that are just good without being like that, like for example, we were talking like Avengers is pretty
God,
much
that
dead.
game
Like
sucks ass,
not
yeah.
yeah, I mean like according to what I saw, like some of the gameplay was fun, but it got really repetitive really quick. And then but then like a couple months later, a different studio, I understand, but they released Guardians of the Galaxy, which was excellent.
Yep.
So it's just kind of funny that like just kind of going towards those better single player games, Jedi Fallen Order, Guardians of the Galaxy, that are
But
solid in their own right, it's going to get you better results.
you see, they've said that Guardians failed to meet their sales expectations.
That's because they're stupid. That's the most
Exactly.
ridiculous
Yeah,
thing.
it's absurd. It's completely
the,
absurd.
the same argument was said when they released Forsaken for Destiny, which literally saved that game.
Yep.
Destiny 2 was dead until Forsaken came out, and it revitalized the entire game, and it's been going for 4 years since then. So like it just doesn't like the whole idea that doesn't meet my sales expectations is no indicator whatsoever
I
of
want to
how
know
a
what
game
their
actually.
expectations were. That's what I want to know. Because, like, it sold pretty well and it reviewed strongly.
Yeah, right. Like, and the player base was back. Like, what did you expect?
Yeah, maybe it didn't sell as much as it could have because of Avengers, but, maybe that's because you made Avengers.
Yeah, and that's one of those games. Guardians is one of those games that's going to just get better with time. The more time that people get to pass the word of mouth that that game is great, the more sales it's going to get. It's definitely. I think 2 years down the line, they're going to be viewing that as a success.
Oh, yeah. Assuming they don't just can the studio because, oh, it didn't meet sales expectation. Then there goes Deus Ex. They probably won't. They're not fucking EA, at least.
Nah, and I think it sold well enough. I mean, yeah, their report says that, but that's pretty much for the financial people.
I really hate that shit, man.
Yeah, the whole thing. I mean, that's why I don't even pay that much attention to it because whenever they release those reports, they're catering to a specific audience. They're not catering to the people that actually play their products. They're catering to the people that invested or their
Oh, yeah, because
stock.
investors don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it
Yeah,
comes
they
to
don't know
gaming.
anything.
They don't
So
understand.
like,
What the hell?
yeah,
Why is Call of Duty losing money? It made this much last year, so it should make even more this year. That's how it works, right?
yeah, that's just such a bizarre attitude. Like, if that's the kind of attitude you want, get into mobile gaming.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
that's
Literally, just get into mobile gaming. There you go. There's plenty of whales out there. Just look
yeah,
at Genshin Impact and how insanely successful that is because of the whales.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, overall, Babylon's Fall.
Not there yet.
Nah, I'm not gonna bother.
Nah, that'll be one of those games that I might check out like a year or two down the
If it's like
line.
20
See if it's still
bucks,
living. Yeah, exactly.
and assuming the
If
servers
it's
aren't
still
dead.
alive and there's some good reviews coming out, I might check it out.
And then let's see, what do we have next on the itinerary? We talked about Peacemaker, talked a little bit about Destiny. Obviously, seeing now February's packed, I played, beat, and platinumed Horizon Forbidden West on PS5.
Oh yeah, I have not gotten that far in it. I'm about 20 hours in or something like that. But yeah, Horizon is a great thing to talk about. So from my perspective, I haven't beat the game at all. first of all, just to get the elephant out of the room, it is the best looking game I have ever
Oh,
played.
it's gorgeous, easily.
It's crazy. Like I'm like looking at stuff and I'm just like, that can't be real life. That can't be the actual engine running. Like,
Yeah, it's
so
insane. Guerrilla Games, like, they're probably one of the best in that regard, especially because I don't think they do crunch. In fact, I read that the initial delay was to avoid crunch.
yeah, and that's cool. That's great. I mean, however they pulled it off, hats off. It looks stunning. And then, but looks are only like half of the battle with this kind of stuff. And the
Exactly.
good thing is that with Horizon, the other half is still great.
Yeah, because who cares how it looks if the game is bad? Or Last of
Yeah,
Us 2.
exactly.
Oh,
Like
sorry.
it's just nice when the graphics are that good, and then the gameplay matches it. Like Horizon, without a doubt, still has some of the best gameplay I've ever had. Like, sometimes certain things happen that kind of frustrate you, but overall, taking down monsters with your bow and arrow and your traps and setting
Oh,
up
it's super
these little
fun.
like
It's basic.
envoys
It's
is
it's
great.
it's basically Robot Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it is, and it is just so sad. Like being able to like scout out like a giant armored turtle that's has all the resources you want, and then being able to set up a trap for it and then target its limbs, and the amount of different things that they've added into this game from the first game, like the weapon techniques
Weapon
and the
techniques are
like super
yeah,
abilities
like those
and
are
that kind of
easily
stuff.
the best like new additions, like by
Weapon
far.
techniques change like a lot of stuff. And man, I'm only 20 hours in it and I have like 12 different weapons that I can choose from on the fly what I'm going to decide to how I'm going to tackle a certain obstacle. So again, very very impressed. And another huge thing with Horizon is the side quests in this game have been upped considerably. Like
Yeah, they
they're
are so much better than the first games.
yeah, like some of the side quests in the first game were really good, right? But some of them were kind of just like somebody standing somewhere telling you to go do something, and then you come back and get a
Yeah,
reward.
and a lot of it
And
has to do with the presentation. Because if you
mhm,
remember in Horizon Zero Dawn, it was basically just your character, NPC character, standing still, shot, reverse shot, almost no animation, and it was so jarring to look at that when you're coming from the cutscenes that were super like well animated
right,
and clearly mocapped.
yeah, absolutely. And the fact that they mocapped most, if not all, of the side
It
quests,
seems to be all. I have not
it,
seen a single one that didn't look mocapped.
well, there you go. Yeah, there you go. I mean, like just as an example, in the first area of the game, there's a chef that like is under pressure from his boss, right? And he asks you to go out and gather materials which on its own is not the most exciting quest. But the way that this guy talks, the way that he's like interacting, he's very animated. It's a very engaging way to start that quest, and I'm in for it. And at the end of the road of that quest, I get the access to the ability to have him craft me these powerful foods that give me like buffs, sustained buffs for a good duration. So like,
Honestly, I will say I ended up almost never using the food.
oh, did you?
Yeah, I feel like on higher difficulties probably because I played on normal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like on normal it felt like I don't need this.
Yeah, yeah, right. Well, I mean, it was funny. I didn't think so either. But the nice thing too is that like I randomly just bought food right from him, and then I was like right before a big fight. I was like looking at my wheel. I'm like, oh shit, I still have some of that food left. All right, click, and then I got like 100 extra HP for the fight, and it made it a much easier fight for me. So but like even if you didn't use it, it's just cool that there is that sort of like system involved with a side quest that you didn't really need to do. So again, very impressed so far with Horizon.
Yeah, like overall my thoughts are I really like the game. I think it's a damn good sequel. There are still some issues like melee combat is vastly improved from the first game. Easily. It
So
is
much
now
better.
it is now fun to fight enemies.
Dude,
But
humans are actually engaging to fight now.
exactly. But there's still just one or two things I would like. One
Mm,
being when you're fighting the human bosses, I would like some type of lock on so I can keep them in my frame. And
okay.
two, Give me a parry button, you cowards. I want to do cool counterattacks. Let me do it. But the other thing is that some of the new weapons are really rad. Like, I mean, you've used some of them. The spike throwers are insanely good.
The spike thrower, the disc thrower too.
The
Love that
discs
thing.
are cool. Once I learned how the mechanic works, it's a little weird once you get used to it.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to sit
But
there and
then
wait.
there
Yeah.
are some new and old weapons that don't really work to it. Like, I don't like the warrior bows at all. They just feel like worse bows and with worse like techniques as well. I
Okay.
I don't like the changes they did to the trap system. Like, I get why they did it because it was overpowered in the first game, right? Setting up the tripwires.
No, the tripwires in specific, I agree that they are
Yeah,
dumbed down
yeah,
for
the
sure.
tripwires, and I don't like the change they did to the rope caster as well. 'Cause I don't know if you use the rope caster.
I have used the ropecaster. It feels a lot weaker. I mean, in Horizon, in the first Horizon, it was busted, but in this one, it
It
does
felt
feel
it felt like
considerably
they
weaker.
nerfed it too much because what they did was not only did they nerf the amount you have to place to fully tie down a machine, but they
Yeah,
also had made it that you have to hold the button until it fully charges up. And in a lot of fights, you don't have
yeah.
enough time to wait for it to charge up to snap it down. So in a lot
But
of the
what?
fast fights, specifically with the hunter killers or the scorchers or even the frost claws, you're not going to tie them down. They are just too fast.
Yeah, I do think that those have been nerfed. I mean, I do think that they were overpowered in the first one,
Oh,
but
they
like
definitely were. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying I think they went too hard on the
too hard on
nerfing.
closing them. Yeah. So I
The
will. The only one of those that I disagree with is the warrior bow so far. Because I think elemental warrior bows, like I have an elemental warrior bow, and it's very good at applying that status. I'm never using it for DPS because it's not what it's
well,
built
that's the
for.
thing. Like
But
that's the thing because like
man,
you'd be right. I would totally agree with you if it weren't for the bombs.
I haven't even used bombs, man. I mean, I
Trust
have
me,
so
the
I don't
moment.
have. So here's the deal: is that I like where I am in the game in the story is I only have frost bombs, and I have only the only thing that does shock for me is the warrior bow right now.
Right.
And the warrior bow right now, dude, it applies shock immediately. It like I'm really enjoying it for that specific. If I see something, it's like weak to shock. I'm like, all right, I know what to do. And oh, speaking of which, real quick, the scanning system where you can scan a
So much
full
better.
target.
So much
Oh
better.
my god, you can cycle through the different parts that they have,
And you can
find
tag
out what
them
they
so you can
do,
keep them in
tag
mind.
them,
Thank
yeah,
God.
and then
That was so
target them
nice.
specifically. It's that is a great like change in terms of how they, instead of just like Far Cry tagging where you just simply tag enemies, it goes so much farther beyond that and gives you some real tactical advantages
Yeah.
to like literally tagging specific components that are on animal on beasts. So, but yeah. Anyway, like I think that it so far for me has been a great success. I have definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah. There's one more weapon I didn't talk about that I want to talk about first before we move on to like the narrative. Not spoilers, obviously, but just my overall thoughts. But there's a new rope caster type called canister rope casters, and I think
Okay.
these are by far the worst weapon in the game. So
Oh, really? I haven't even seen them.
I like the concept. So the concept is you fire a rope with an elemental canister attached to it, and that will stick to the monster.
Sure.
Then you hit that canister with the same element, so acid, electricity,
Right.
plasma, whatever, and it'll explode on the monster. And here's the
Okay.
thing: that's a really cool concept, but with the controller, even with the gyro aiming, which I did use, and is very nice, it is almost impossible to hit that if the monster is actively attacking you because it swings around so violently.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Like I don't think like I don't like the warrior bow, but I can see the reason why it would be good,
Is for that? Oh, interesting. Okay.
right? But the canister rope casters, I don't see the reason for them existing. It is absolutely worthless.
Yeah.
It feels to me like they were like, we need one more new weapon, and they couldn't come up with one. So they're just like, fuck it, canisters, rope caster. There you go.
Okay. Well, I mean, honestly, if we're talking about very specific weapons in a game as the biggest downsides that we've seen, it's not too bad. But I'll have to take a look at it again. I don't even have that weapon yet.
And then the story. So, it's so hard to try and talk about it without spoiling it. But let me say this: I simultaneously think it is better and worse than the first game story, and that may sound
So
weird. Because, and the reason why I can say this without spoilers is there are aspects of the narrative I like, but then there's one aspect that is so goddamn stupid to me. It is, and here's the thing: the first part of it is like I'm like, okay, this is pretty stupid, but I can get behind this. I can see how this works, right? And then you get to the
right.
second part of that aspect, and I'm like, oh, fuck this. This is we have lost the plot officially.
Well,
Like,
again, I haven't gotten that far yet, so I'm not sure
yeah,
exactly.
you'll understand what I mean when you get to it.
Yeah, yeah. I do want to say that it's going to be really tough to capture what they got in the first one. One of the big things that everyone enjoyed about Horizon Zero Dawn, the first one's story, um, was the surprises and there's this level
The
of
mystery.
hope and well, there's this idea. So basically, with post-apocalyptic games, a lot of the time it's all about making your characters suffer so that you can see how they come out through those challenges and trials and tribulations, right? The way that Horizon sort of flipped that and made it into a much more sort of cathartic experience is that the suffering was already done, right? Like the story of the old ones in that game, and again, this is going to be minor spoilers for the original game. Um, but the story of the old ones in that game, it's centered around a group of people that came together after everything was lost. There's no hope, and yet still they pushed through and they did something great for humanity. And there's a level of something that you just don't see that a lot in those kind of games, in these post-apocalyptic games, where you have this like unending determination and hope and looking to the future idea. And I think that's really hard to capture a second time. And so far I don't think they're going to go down that route with this story, which is not like totally unexpected, but it is there's just no way that they can top that, I don't think, in this particular game. And I've seen a little bit of, I think, what you're talking about in the story. And yeah, I don't know, it seems, I don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah, like I think
But
20 hours
it
in,
looks a little
I
weird.
think for 20 hours in, I think you're at the first part where I was like, this is pretty dumb, but I can get behind it if they do it right.
Right.
I think you're at
Yeah,
that
yeah.
part. I'll talk to you about it after the podcast just to make sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like for viewers, don't worry, no spoilers here except for Zero Dawn, kind of. But hey, that game is like what 4 or 5 years old by now.
Not
Like
even. I think it's like 3 now.
Zero Dawn,
No, no, 4. 4. You're right. 2018, right?
it was
I think so.
2017.
Was it?
Yeah, you know why?
Oh, well,
You know
whatever.
how I know that? Because it came out a week before Breath of the Wild
Oh, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
got
That's right.
absolutely
That's right.
trounced by that. And man, can we just say I gotta feel bad for Guerrilla Games because
I
Horizon Zero Dawn was a great game, and it just got mowed over by Breath of the Wild. Then the
well,
sequel
yeah.
comes out, and it's a great game, but now it's being mowed over by Elden Ring.
Yeah, that's a crazy time for those
And it's
guys.
not just the funny thing is it's not just a more like a more impressive game came out. It's no another genre defining open world game came out
Comes out
after
2
it.
weeks later. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's absurd. Like when I
Oh
was
my god.
playing it, I was like, "Am I gonna finish this in time?"
Yeah.
Luckily, I
Yeah, I
did.
did. And it's funny. I was playing Horizon, and as soon as Elden Ring and Destiny Witch Queen dropped,
Yeah,
I was
see,
off of
that's
it.
the thing.
Like,
I didn't have Witch Queen, so that's why I was able to.
yeah, exactly.
I do now,
But
though. Thank you, cousin, for the copy.
but yeah, anyway, so the that's a pretty good segue into the final game that we'll be talking about today, which is Elden Ring. And man, again, as a huge fan of Dark Souls and the Soulsborne games, um, Elden Ring, I'm loving it. I think that it's absolutely excellent.
Oh, it's
So
fantastic. Easily.
I I just there is so much depth in this game that you just don't understand until you like just start exploring and you keep going and the map keeps going and there's more areas that aren't even on the map and all the bosses and the world bosses, and there's a sense of mystery to this open world game that has never been existent for me in any other open game. When I turn a corner in Elden Ring, I have no idea what kind of crazy monstrous abomination or beautiful vista that I'm going to see around the corner. And it inspires you to explore every aspect of the game. Even the dungeons. Okay, so some of the dungeons are a little bit copy and paste in terms of their layout, but when you're in them, you don't know what you're going to fight. Is it going to be this type of enemy? What is that over there? Literally the four words that describe this game the best is what the hell is that? Or excuse me, five words. Like you just like, what is
Yeah, it's
that?
accurate.
What is that over there? You know, so I'm loving it.
Because we've been
What
in
do you think?
BC where we've been playing it after the first couple hours. Like every I want to say 5 minutes, one of us is going, "What the fuck is that? What the hell is that?"
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane. Yeah, it's you can easily you can definitely tell this is the culmination of everything they have done before.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of the hot button or the phrase that everyone's using, and it's one of those times where everyone is right. Like this is like I know it sounds cliche, but literally everything that they've put together before this has come together in this particular game. Uh,
Yep,
the
yeah,
area, the major castle that I just explored was, parts Bloodborne, parts Dark Souls 3, parts Sekiro. Like uh, they just combine all of it, and it all works so well together in a way that you just didn't expect. It's fantastic.
yeah, and even the systems they have systems from every single one of their games. You have a Nexus from Demon Souls. You have the Dark Souls 1 poise. You have Dark Souls 2 power stancing. The Dark Souls 3 weapon arts. The hyper aggressive enemies of Bloodborne and the posture system from Sekiro.
Yeah,
And
not to mention.
you would think that mashing all those together would make for a nightmare. Because
Mhm.
how can you make all these work? They're all vastly different systems, but they somehow managed to make it all work, which is
Yeah,
insane. It's
not even to mention the stealth, the magic, like totally mind blowing. And you know the thing about this game is that there's probably five of us in our friends group that are playing this game right now, and not a single one of us has had even a remotely similar playthrough so far.
yeah.
We've gone in five different directions. We've all done the first area, like the first starting one, but then from there, there's so much room for exploration as to what you do next, where you're going, how you're going to power yourself up so you can deal with the major bosses. Like it, again, just totally incredible in terms of the way that they combine these systems. They made them engaging in on every level. So yeah, and you know, a little bit of worry after watching some of the beta footage. I didn't watch too many of the trailers or anything like that, but I watched some of the beta footage, and because I was like, this looks kind of easy. Let me tell you, no, it is not. This is a challenging game, especially dependent on when and where you go during the game. So
It's weird too because it's simultaneously, I think, one of their harder games, also one of their easier games, and it's because of the amount of avenues you actually have. Because I'm
uh
seeing
huh,
people once again bringing up the tired argument: Dark Souls should have an easy mode. No, no. Like
no,
one, Dark Souls has always had an easy mode. It's called summoning and
yeah, right,
magic. Like those are the easy modes. You want an easy mode, you do that. But two, what you want are accessibility modes. You want like maybe like, oh, I don't know, a better like custom controller configurations, right? Because these people, they always try to use the oh, but what about disabled people? What about this and that? And those who can't play it, even though they've shown time and time again they can. But that brings up the actually, it's not, you don't want an easy mode. You want more accessibility options, and that's the
yeah,
difference.
and
But
the whole different. And there's a vast difference between this game and Sekiro. where Sekiro it gatekeeped how powerful you could get. You have to defeat this boss.
Yep.
In
You
order to
will
get
learn the systems, and you
yeah,
will,
in
or you're
order
not
for
going to
you
beat
to
it.
progress, you must beat this difficult boss to get that health upgrade. This game doesn't do that. This game, when you get into that world, if you're getting wrecked by something, you leave,
Exactly. You
and
can
then you
leave.
explore a
You
bunch,
can
you
literally
get more
leave.
powerful, and you come back.
But the important thing is too, it's like if you're like, but what about internet connection, internet stability? It's like, well, good news. There's a bunch
Yeah.
of NPC summons you can just use,
Yeah.
and they are
Even if
insane.
you're 100%, even if you are not like I don't summon players in my playthroughs, but I am using the summon system in this game because it's just so, and it's so deep too. I've gotten what, 12, 13 different summons. You can level them up and they can do better throughout the course of your game.
Yep.
So like
The
again,
only other summons I do use are the NPC summons because I have a sneaking suspicion, just like Dark Souls 1, they are tied to quests.
yeah, 100%, like, and that's the whole thing is that I'm choosing not to do the NPC summons, but there's plenty of reasons to do them. You can play this game however you want. If you want to summon somebody for the vast majority of the content,
You
you
can
can
do
do
that.
that.
It's
Yeah,
perfectly natural. It's perfectly
that's
okay.
totally fine. Like there's no anyone that's like, oh, if you don't do it in this exact way using just this, that's not how this game works. You go out there and you just do what you want to do. You do the best, however you want to play. This game lets you do that. I have found weapons and arts for every different type of play style imaginable, even ones I didn't even think about before, are available in this game. So again, any sort of build that you put your time and effort into is going to be rewarded with like, and let's talk about the rewards for a second. Every location that you go to, whether it's a dungeon, an open world area, a world boss, a major castle, has a vast amount of rewards that you want to get. New ashes of war that make your weapons do different things. New talismans, which are basically rings that make you more powerful. Like all over the place, there's new ways to engage.
Yeah, definitely. Like easily, like the game rewards you in a very satisfying way. Like I don't think I've explored a section where like, oh, this was worthless, except for one thing that I specifically went back to. But
Yeah.
that was only worthless for me because I'm not doing a faith build.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Like that that's the whole thing is I mean some of the places that haven't been great for me because I'm doing magic and dex, and sometimes I'll do an area and it'll give me a bunch of stuff but for the wrong, a bunch of faith or a bunch of arcane stuff. But that's okay because I know that my next run or later in the game, by the way, as a note here, I do believe that you can respec in this game.
I've
um,
heard that you can, yeah.
yeah, there is a way to do that, and I found it. So if you found a bunch of faith stuff and you're like not feeling your current build, there is a way to do that. Now it is kind of hard to do, and it's kind of rare. So don't expect that once you get started, you can just immediately respec. You can't do that. Get started on something you'd like to do, but much later down the line, if you're feeling something else, you can make a change.
Hey, you know what you can do at as many times as you want and for free? Change the way your character looks. They finally added a character recreation re-edit system that is free. You can just do it
Yeah.
as many times as you want, but you can also change your character's name as well. And
Oh, okay.
what's neat is that just like I think Dark Souls 3 had it where you can save you can save the preset you made to
Favorites. Yeah,
like a
yeah, yeah.
favorite. So that way if you're like feeling something like for example, because I went with the hero class,
Sure.
right? And that in that outfit makes your character is like mostly bare chested, and
Hmm.
I increased the mass of his arms and abdomen so he would look like more buff hero, right?
Sure,
But
sure.
when you put on full armor, it looks goofy. So what I do is when I'm wearing regular armor, I go there and I put back the regular values that I set, and it's nice that I'm
Nice.
able to do that with no cost.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. And another thing to talk about here, with Elden Ring is the lore and the story of the game so far. So, as all From Software games, with the possible exception of Sekiro, like it starts out slow. You kind of get a basic idea of what your goal is and stuff like that, and then you move forward. But the more and more you discover and the more people you talk to, by the way, this world is filled with NPCs.
Yeah,
Like
it's
you
insane.
are always running into somebody that'll give you a little bit of a side quest, and not marked on the map, but just something that, like, hey, over there's a castle that they took from me. Can you help me with that? Or something like that. Or a merchant that'll talk about, what happened in the area or something like that. But the more and more I explore, the more interconnected it feels. There's a crazy couple moments that I had where I found I found an NPC, and he talked about something, and then I went there and it happened, and it was just like, oh my gosh, that this is actually happening real time. Like, so there's direct connections if you pay attention to what people are saying, and you even look even briefly at some of the item descriptions, then you're gonna find some cool stuff happening.
I think one of the biggest things about this game's narrative is that I don't think I've ever heard bosses talk as much as they do in previous Souls games.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's not just talk for talk's sake.
It's like
It's
they're
giving you a real, like,
yeah, you're actually getting real information. You're like, oh,
yeah, 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 and you're like, oh man, like there's an NPC early on that explains what grafting is, and then later you find the people who got grafted, and you're like, dear sweet Jesus,
it's
don't want
horrifying.
that to happen to
It's
me.
fucking horrifying. And then when you realize
Yeah,
that person's like, oh, I wish to be grafted, and you're like,
yeah,
why?
why? Yeah, exactly. And then that just adds a layer to the boss that you fight, being like, wow, this guy's an actual total dick bag. Like, and like, definitely want to kill you more. So it's very rewarding in that sense as well.
Yeah, the biome diversity is fantastic. I will say this.
Mm-hmm.
So far, this is the first Souls game where I have yet to be. I'm 20 hours in, and I have yet to be invaded by a player.
Mm-hmm. So I haven't either. I've had the NPC summons. I'm about 35 hours in, and I haven't been invaded by an actual player yet either. I think there's something funky with that. I think that you have to be doing something in order to be invaded,
That's what I'm
but I'm not
wondering. I'm
sure.
wondering if like maybe there's only certain zones that allow invasions or something like that. Because
I
I'm
believe that you can only invade people that are summoning.
oh
So
right.
I think that invaders can only invade players that have summoned another player. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that that's the way that it works.
Wait, no, because there's an item in the game that you can get to summon someone to help you if you've been invaded.
I don't know. Yeah, we're still in the early days. It's crazy to say that. I'm 35 hours in and I'm in early days of this game.
Yeah,
Like,
like I've only
I'm not
beaten two major bosses. How many have you beaten?
two. I've beaten
Yeah.
two of the major bosses, and I know that there's at least five. And yeah, so again, still early days. Not to mention the fact that I got a level 70 requirement on my intelligence.
That's
Requires
insane.
70 levels of intelligence,
That's so
and so
insane.
yeah, and I'm currently working towards it, but it's gonna be a while. Um, anyway, yeah. So Elden Ring is great. So in terms of, like, now, if we're gonna get into the nitpicks of Elden Ring, the one thing that I do wish was a little bit more clear is when I pick up an item, that there's a more clear symbol for what that item is. There is a symbol, like, that shows you at the top right, like, kind of where it is in your inventory. But, like, sometimes I'll pick up an item and then spend like 2 minutes trying to find out what that item actually is
Yeah,
in my inventory.
a lot of the item designs do tend to blend together if you're just quickly scrolling through. It can be a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
cumbersome.
But, like, again, that's not the biggest issue in the world. It's just one of those things. It's like, meh, could use a little help at finding what that thing actually does.
Now, obviously, if you're someone listening to say, "Oh man, Elden Ring sounds great. I should pick it up," I would have to advise you avoid the PC version for now, because it is a fucking mess. Now, they recently put out a patch that supposedly fixes it, but I haven't heard anyone talk about it yet. But currently, it is mixed reviews on Steam because of it. Because it's not just frame drops. Because every FromSoft game has had frame rate issues at the start. The only one that never really got fixed was Bloodborne. That's because of the system it's on, and that's a whole other thing. But it's also just micro stuttering and stuttering to the point where I've seen footage where people are fighting the tree sentinel, the first like big boy you find in the open world, when they go to swing, and the game just freezes for a solid second and a half, and then catches up and it gets the person killed.
Yeah,
It's completely ridiculous. And even on console, in my experience, it's not great either. So you have two modes. You have performance mode, which has a resolution up to 1800p and targets 60 FPS, and then you have quality mode, which is a 4K resolution, but the frame rate is also unlocked with 60 FPS. Now, on the performance mode, the frame rate fluctuates too much for me, which is annoying because I can notice that. But Travis, you said you didn't luckily see that too much, which is good. But I think on performance mode it fluctuates between 45 to 60, which if you're not used to seeing that, you can easily pass it. But on quality mode, it's constantly dropping between 60 and 30, which is much more noticeable. And so I eventually resigned to playing the PS4 version on PS5 because that's the only way to get a constant 60 FPS. And the only difference is that you lose a little bit of resolution, which is not a big deal to me, and the grass isn't as populated on the ground. But honestly, considering how bad the grass's draw distance is, I don't really care. But
again, from a different perspective, I have not so to put this in perspective, I do notice bad like frame rate in certain games. Like for example, when I was playing the PS4 version of Jedi Fallen Order, there was definitely some issues there. I could definitely tell. Darksiders 3, that kind of stuff.
Darksiders 3 was particularly bad. That frame
yeah, those kind
awful.
of games where you can feel that sort of, like that change in frame rate pretty drastically. So I do have a good sense, with that kind of stuff. But from that perspective, I'm playing PS5 version on the performance mode, and I have not experienced any issues, and I mean literally any. Like, I wish I could say that like, oh, every once in a while I feel it. I literally never feel it. I don't know why. Apparently there's a lot of people talking about some issues with performance, but on the PS5 version, if you're not like that sensitive to that stuff, you're not gonna have an issue. There is no. I have not had any noticeable issues whatsoever.
Exactly. And if you are sensitive to that issue, you could play the PS4 version. I'm going to be honest, you do not see a difference in graphical quality. Graphical quality is the same. The only difference is that the graphics are a little bit less grass. And you'll get a stable 60 on that. As I can personally attest.
It's really up to you guys, however you want to play on Elden Ring. Regardless, these things are nitpicks based on the actual world itself. Now, again, PC version aside, because that
I was gonna say because like frame freezing is not a nitpick. That's a major issue.
That is. I mean, again, I have read and watched a couple of reviews where people have played on PC without any issues. Or not. Let me rephrase that. Not without any issues, but with limited issues, with limited
it's strange. It's strange because I've seen people with more powerful PCs than me, people with like 3080s who are experiencing stuttering, and then people with less powerful PCs than I who experience no issues. So what people are speculating. Oh no, it's Alan talked about this in his port review. And by the way, hey, if you want a guy who does Total Biscuit style port reviews, go to Oh no, it's Alex's channel. He does great shit. But he talked about how like it could be the fact that it's DirectX 12. Because DirectX 12, I'm going to be honest, every single game I've seen that has it, every single time I've activated it, my games have performed worse in that. I don't know why. Okay. I'm not sure why. It could be the way it compiles shaders when you launch the game. But that may be the culprit. And it also may be the fact that they're using an anti-cheat engine for the first time. They're using easy anti-cheat. And fun fact, if you want to know why they just implemented it, it's because it's now free for use. But I didn't pay for it.
So yeah, I mean, again, these are like, it really kind of depends how you feel about performance. If you're not that bugged by it, and you have a PS5, there's nothing else bad about this game to say.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the worst I can say about it.
Yeah, exactly. It is a terrific game through and through. Now, the typical warning for all Souls games applies here, but to a lesser extent, which is it's going to be hard. You're going to die a lot. You got to get used to it. If you're not okay with that and you just want to, play a game where you can just sit back and relax and not think about stuff,
then this
then this
game isn't for
game
you.
probably isn't for
Go
you.
play
And that's okay.
I was gonna say go play Horizon, but no, Horizon will fucking kick your ass as well.
Yeah, Horizon's not easy either. But regardless of all of that, if you have any sort of interest in this game and you're willing to get through the initial road bumps of dying a bunch to some of these enemies and become more powerful, this game's terrific. It's really the culmination of a lot of things. And as a Souls fan for X amount of years, if this game keeps going the way that it is for the next, 50, 60 hours that I'm playing it, this will be my favorite Souls game of all time. But
yeah,
again,
like it's funny. I'm feeling that too,
good.
and it could just be recency bias, right? Because that's always the little thing to keep in mind.
100%. It
But
absolutely could be.
so far, it's like in terms of mechanics, in terms of hitboxes, which was my biggest annoyance with older Souls games, this is by far the best it's been.
Yeah. Speaking of hitboxes, when we were doing PvP, we had the craziest hitbox stuff. So I've got a magic attack that sends out like a wave of like magic, right? This crazy guy, when I was fighting him, I sent it out and he did a jumping attack that went over my line of magic and then whacked me with it, somehow missing his hitbox. It was awesome. It was a very cool moment.
It works on enemy attacks too. So I found it. So I met an enemy that does like a raising energy wave attack on the ground. And I just jumped over it and fucking slammed attacked him. It's fucking great.
So, yeah.
The jump is the new great addition. People say Elden Ring, I don't get the idea. It's just Dark Souls with open world. And I say no. It's Dark Souls but with teabagging.
Yeah, no. So anyway, yeah, great game. Very excited to get back into it.
Absolutely loved it. I'm absolutely loving it, I should say, because I didn't beat it yet. I don't know when. I don't know when I'm gonna beat it. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this game is huge. Like, also, bang for your buck. This game's gonna deliver. It's insanely huge. Like, it was funny. One of our buddies was talking. He's like, "Oh, I really like the map because it's like dense. It's small, but it's dense." And I'm like, "Bro, yeah, you don't know, dude. Yeah, because like as soon as you start exploring farther out in every direction,
you're like, wait a second,
bigger. The map gets bigger. The map gets bigger. It's just crazy.
Like I wanted, like it actually captures that Skyrim feeling of Skyrim. It was like, oh, you're in Skyrim. It's like, oh, you can go there. But that was actually in Skyrim that was kind of stinted. There were sections where it was like, no, you can't go there. That's out of bounds. Yeah. No, in Elden Ring, I have yet to come across a section where like I see something in the distance and I couldn't go there.
Yeah, 100% with that. And not only that, but like Skyrim showed you the full map at the beginning. It'd be like if Skyrim, like you started exploring past like Falconwreath, and then suddenly the entirety of the Southern Realm appeared, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's, oh man, Elden Ring is a masterpiece so far. I am
been great so far.
So I guess that's super to talk about more. Obviously, like as the podcast continues, we'll be further in. We'll have more stuff to talk about. But I guess next what we could talk about is what upcoming games are we interested in? Because that's the only thing to talk about right now, apart from certain world events. But this is a I want to keep people not freaking out during this. So we'll stick with video games, hey, right? Just stick in our own corner.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, upcoming games. I'm big into the Borderlands series, so I'm pretty excited for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands.
Yep.
Then I mean, honestly, that's like, oh yeah, I've got the raid. So Witch Queen's big raid comes out next Saturday. And I'm going to be doing the day one grind for it. So hopefully we can get it done in day one.
Yeah, you're going to start another Dreaming City situation.
No, it won't be. It's contest mode, so it's pretty nice that there's no chance of that.
I guess
happening.
We should explain that for people who maybe don't know. So
sure, yeah.
So the way Destiny works is you when it comes to the raid, you have to hit a certain power level, and they usually give you like a week or a week and a half to meet it. And a lot of times it was really easy for people to over level and go through the day one raid really fast. And Bungie wanted to try to mitigate this. So what they did was they said, okay, this is going to be the cap that's going to be for the raid. This is I think it was like 12:30, I want to say, for Dreaming City. That's what they said it was going to be.
So this is Forsaken about 4 years ago. It was, I believe, maybe let's say 1250. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, yeah. Let's say 1250. Yeah, that's what they said it was going to be. And then people started getting into the raid like, huh, I'm at this level and enemies are swords. And what swords mean is that enemies are above your level. And this was the first encounter, which should be the easiest part.
Let's not also forget that they previously, in the previous raids that they released, the starting raid level was the final boss's level of that raid.
Yep, exactly. So people knew what they were in for. Okay, it was a ascending staircase.
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so we get there, we're doing that, and we're noticing these enemies are higher than they should be. What the hell? And then we come to find out it was actually 20 levels higher than they said it was.
Yeah.
What they said was not what the level they said it was going to be was not for the final boss, but like always, but for the first encounter.
Yep, 100%. That's what happened.
Screwing over a majority of day one raiders.
Yeah, and it wasn't just. Yeah, it was 20 levels higher for the final encounter, but it started 10 levels higher too. So yeah, that was a bad experience for a lot of players. Was the Last Wish, and a lot of people really love that raid race, right? Like, it's funny. You read some, you look back on some of the players from that time, and they really enjoyed watching these these day one raiders race for it because it was super hard. There was only 2 teams in the world that beat that raid in the first 24 hours.
Yep, and it was like on the dot too, if I remember correctly.
That's exact. Yeah, well, one of them beat it in like 20 hours, and the next one beat it at like 23.5 hours. But regardless of all of that, Bungie did not really like how that played out because they want the raid race to be exciting, but they also don't want to cut out everybody's, like us, because regular people from actually doing it.
Because what's not fun? Watching your favorite streamer be frustrated at like hour 18 because they've been stuck on this one mechanic for like 6 hours. That's not 100%. Fun to watch, and that's not good PR for your game.
Right.
It's not fun.
So the way that they've changed it over the next 4 years of the game is they now have something called contest mode, where the raid during the first 24 hours is locked to a specific level. So, for example, this raid, when after contest mode is over, is going to be at 1550. That's the level that the enemies are going to be at and everything like that. For this raid, everyone will be going in as though they are at 1530 light. So everyone will be 20 light levels below the actual recommended level. So it's challenging for everyone. But as soon as that's over, you're going to be able to go up. You're going to be able to go into it at 15, with your full level and everything like that. And it's a much better way of dealing with it because that way everyone gets the chance to go into this challenging content day one, get the rewards.
You don't screw over the average Joes.
Yeah. Lose some friends along the way, stuff like that.
Yeah, I just remember I remember we got a guy for, I want to say it was Last Wish, but I don't think it was. It was that one guy where we got him for one of the mechanics, and he started screaming when we like failed the first time. Actually, you know what? It might have been Taken King. And then we were just like, dude, chill out, and it immediately left. Like, Destiny raid randoms are something else.
I'll tell you what, it's kind of interesting because sometimes they're like that. Sometimes it's just not good. But sometimes, like the other day, me and a couple of the other guys, we did one of the old raids, and we got 2 random people. One of them was like, "Yeah, I've never done this before. Can you teach me how?" And we're like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead." And it was one of the best raid teams I've ever been with. They never screwed up. They did exactly what we asked of them, and they were kind and cool the whole way through. So it is such a mix. It's a gamble on who you're gonna get.
It really is.
You start getting a random team together. But regardless, that's what I'm looking forward to, is the raid and pretty much Tiny Tina's. What about you?
Yep. So Shadow Warrior 3 releases next fucking week, which is insane. I loved the first 2 Shadow Warrior reboots. They're fantastic FPS games. The only thing I'm a little on the third one is that they changed the voice actor. and it's very noticeable.
Okay.
Like, the new guy's not bad, but like Lo Wang had a very particular style of voice.
Yeah.
And having that missing, it's really hard to not notice. But gameplay wise, it looks fucking great. It has the grappling hook, and hey, developers, if you notice, every great game has the grappling hook in it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Titanfall 2, Halo Infinite. I mean, hey, grappling hooks are cool.
Not saying anything specific, but hey.
Maybe the secret to success should be a grappling hook. I don't know. Hey, Sekiro had a grappling hook.
Yes, it did. Horizon has a grappling hook.
That's true, it does. But and then we have on the 14th we have Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin being done by the Neo team, and I'm very looking forward to that. If you don't know what that is, it is the origin story of the villain from Final Fantasy 1, Garland. So I'm gonna be honest, I have no hope for the story because Nomura is working on it. And I'm sorry, everybody, Nomura cannot write good stories. Kingdom Hearts is trash. I don't care. Kingdom Hearts is bad. All right? Everything that people hate about the remake of FF7, all the stories that they hate was all done by him. So I don't know. Maybe he should just stick with character design because he's good at those, except for Sora and Kingdom Hearts 1, because that was one of the worst designs I've ever seen. But it's cloud design, that's A+. So story-wise, I don't expect Final Fantasy Origin to be good at all. But just as long as it plays into the absurdity, it can be passable. I mean, for fuck's sake, he had a cell phone that was playing what sounds like Limp Bizkit. And you want to know the crazy part? When that came out, people thought, oh, so this is an isekai. Are you telling me that Garland, the villain of FF1, is from another world? How dumb is that? No, it's even dumber, because apparently they confirmed it's not an isekai. Which means that phone exists in that world.
Nice.
Which, that's even dumber. So I'm looking forward to that purely for the combat thing, because as we all know, Neo and Neo 2 are... I think they are the best action games out there.
Oh,
like
Neo
bar
2
none.
Neo 2 was absolutely excellent. Neo 1 I really enjoyed, but man, Neo 2 is, that year, it was one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game of the year. No, that was Ghost year. That was Ghost and Hades year, wasn't it? Because it came out in February.
Yeah.
Man, what a year. I mean, everything but the game of the year winner was excellent.
Yeah, literally. But we don't talk about that.
Yeah, not to bring up old wounds, but the game of the year winner was not the game of the year for all those wondering.
Yeah, it just further proved that Game Awards are a sham. You just watch it to get announcements. That's all.
There are a lot of good announcements, got to admit.
Yep. Yeah, but obviously, just like you, I'm excited for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands because I do like, despite Borderlands writing, those games are very fun to play.
Yeah, they're great. They're a ton of fun to play, and I'm very excited.
They seem to be the only looter shooter that's actually. They all seem to be the only looter shooter that actually got the looter shooter aspect right.
Yeah, I mean, and this one in particular seems like it's pretty sweet. The way that the starting class works is awesome. So you can start as a combination of two. So if you want to be, the melee guy plus the explosives guy, you can do those in one and switch between their supers, which just seems sweet.
Man, I honestly, I'm not even looking at anything else. It's just one of the things that I just want to go in and want to experience it for myself. The moment I heard the character creator for in a Borderlands game, I was like, I'm in, because stop giving us like predestined characters that there's a limit to how you can customize them.
Yeah, that's cool that they've got the new customizer in there.
Apart from that, I mean, Kirby comes out the same day. I'm looking forward to that because I love me some Kirby, but not really much else to say about that. Speaking of, I don't know. I don't think this is true. I don't think this is real, but there's a rumor going around that God of War Ragnarok might be stealth dropping in June.
That would be. I don't think so.
I don't believe it. I thought I should bring it up because the reason they're saying is because there was a it's another one of those placeholder sites where like pre-order God of War Ragnarok on like a foreign site. I don't remember which site. I think it was New Zealand or something. And it said release was June. Now here's the thing.
Didn't they originally announce that the release was going to be in June, but then delayed it?
I don't know if they ever announced. They just said the year. I think
they just said the year. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, but like the thing is, it's like people. I can see where people are kind of believing that because there is also the aspect of it. There's going to be another state of play in March.
Yeah.
So that would be 3 months that they're going to announce it. That's going to be the place where you announce it, right? But the thing is, I think it's too close.
Close. There's no way.
It's about Ragnarok. I think that, so like the best time to release that would be November, December.
Dude, if it comes out in June, I'm gonna be hyped, but I don't really care. I'm hyped whenever it comes out. As long as it's a finished product when it comes out, I'm good to go. So if they stealth release it, fine, I'll buy it. But I think with a game of that magnitude that they're gonna try and I would be surprised if they don't do a full marketing push for it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other thing. I'm like, that's why I was like, that's an interesting like thesis statement, sir, but I don't know. I just thought I'd bring it up because I was like, there's something to talk about there.
Yeah, no kidding. That'd be cool, but nah, I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think there's much else to talk about. Because like honestly, we ended the Elden Ring discussion a lot quicker than I expected.
Yeah, it's tough to talk too much about it without getting into spoilers. I will say, like, I cannot wait. One of my biggest things I cannot wait for is for everybody I know to finish the game and then talk about the shit. Like,
yeah, we'll be doing a full spoiler cast when that happens.
One of the boss designs of one of the major bosses is one of the coolest designs I've ever seen in any video game. I mean, it literally makes your jaw drop when something happens, and you're just like, no way. And so, I'm very excited to talk a lot more in depth with the spoilers. But right now, it's hard to talk about too much else aside from that. So just know it's great if you're at all into third person action games, Elden Ring is it.
Absolutely. Yeah, all right. I think that's a good place to end it for now. I think we gone for like in a little over an hour. I think that's good for our first return to form. It's gonna take us a bit to get back to like the more longer discussions. I think because it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while.
I think that, once more topics come out that aren't all consuming like Elden Ring, like I mean, NFTs are a thing now, which is not great. And there's like,
if you support NFTs, I don't like you. Just gonna say that flat out right now.
NFTs are not a good thing for the gaming industry. Not a good thing for anything, basically.
Yeah, literally, it's the literal fucking pyramid scheme.
Yeah, so but like those sort of topics about the overall gaming industry are definitely something that we will cover. But at this particular point,
there were some I wanted to bring up, but I was like, let's just keep this a little relaxed for now. Like, because I still need to get into the groove of having the itinerary all set up and ready to go, right? And once I get used to doing that, it'll probably get longer. But
yeah.
Hey.
And another thing to note is that if you guys want us to talk about anything, if there's something that you're interested in us talking about, then just let us know in the comments. Like, we're always happy to chat, take a look at those, find out, what people are interested in hearing about. If you guys want to hear us talk about stuff.
We could talk about before we go. It is my channel's forte.
Sure.
So, PlayStation fanboys specifically, are now like trying to attack Elden Ring and the reviewer because they're saying, so Horizon Forbidden West gets scores dropped because of performance issues, but Elden Ring also has performance issues but doesn't get dropped?
That's stupid. No, that's God.
And it's like, look, here's the thing. I said this before. I don't like using scores when talking about video games because I feel like it's too easy for people to use that as just a generic metric to either dismiss or stand your actual like thoughts, and your thoughts get lost when you just focus on the number. But I do think if there are performance issues, like I don't think the PC versions that were being reviewed should have gotten 10s, bar none, because of that. Right? It's the same with Cyberpunk, it's the same with Horizon. I agree with that. But the difference is the worst part of Elden Ring was just the performance. There were
Yeah, and
things.
here's the deal with reviews and in general, okay? You need to go find, and I'm talking to the viewers and to everyone, if you need to find people that you trust to give you the information that you want to know about for your game. If you're worried about performance issues, there are reviewers that talk in depth about that specific
Digital
issue.
Foundry is
If you're
fantastic
worried
for that.
about story or about how it feels or about anything like that, go find a reviewer on YouTube that talks about that. If the best way that you can judge whether or not a game is right for you is to go find somebody that you trust to talk about it. So, like, the scores and all that stuff, like giving it a 10 out of 10, maybe that person had a 10 out of 10 experience, even if there were performance issues. But then that person isn't somebody that you should trust with your review later in the down the line if that's something that bugs you.
And see, this is the
So,
problem I have with the review process. Because here's the thing: a lot of people seem to think 10 out of 10 means perfect, right?
right,
But a
yeah,
lot of reviewers have a lot of different metrics, and it doesn't always mean that. And that's the problem I have with
100%.
numbered reviews. That's why I like Skill Up or ACG, because they generally don't give numbers.
100%. Yeah, I agree. So, like, an example of that is like a while ago when I reviewed God of War on my blog. I gave it a 10 out of 10. It was 5 out of 5 on my blog, but I gave it a 5 out of 5, acknowledging that maybe there's a few issues here and there because that's how my review scale works, which I explained at the bottom. But like in my opinion, in the way that I felt about the game, it was a 5 out of 5. So it's just one of those things where you need to find somebody that matches your particular ideals
That's
in
what I
what
was
a
gonna
game should
say.
be.
One of the best things you can do when looking at reviews and reviewers, you gotta find people who have similar tastes, because
Mm-hmm.
that's how you'll know. Because, for
Yeah.
example, I follow a streamer, Angriest Pat. He was in the Best Friends Let's Play channel for years. I've known them since high school. I followed him since high school, and he and I, we have very similar tastes in games. So I
Yeah.
know if he hates something, I'm probably gonna hate it.
Yeah. Right. Like, so the three that I use, just for people's knowledge, in case you want to look up some reviewers, are ACG, Skill Up sometimes. So I really like Skill Up reviews when he says that something is good. I take everything he says that is bad with a grain of salt. And then Easy Allies. These are
Easy
YouTube
Allies is
channels you
pretty
can
good.
easily
Yeah.
look up. Yeah, you can just look them up, find out whether or not they match with what you're talking about. But those are some examples of people that you can
I
follow.
I will admit, Skill Up is a good reviewer. I like him a lot, but I take all the reviews with a grain of salt ever since the Assassin's Creed and Watch Dogs Legion reviews, where
Right.
all the issues he had with Valhalla are in Legion, but he gave Legion a better review. Even though
Yeah.
Legion had worse gameplay, worse visuals, worse world to explore, like everything.
And another thing that's important for everyone to know is that it's just opinions. Like, even if somebody says that, like, this is what's happening, like, this is a fact, it's an opinion. It's coming from their lens. So you just got to match those lenses with yours one way or another.
I think there are objective qualities you can aspect. Like, for example, I think the biggest one obviously is performance and bugs.
Well,
But
yeah, I
like,
mean,
but like overall, like whether it's a big deal to you is the opinion part.
yeah. So here's what I mean by that is that, yeah, obviously there is objective things that are
Yeah,
correct, like
because
performance in particular. But like when somebody tells me, for example, if somebody tells me that Godfall's combat is not good, I will tell them that no, it is good. And these two things are opinions on one side or another. It's not up for debate in terms of whether or not, like, if you found something that you didn't like about it, then that's fine, but I very much enjoyed it. Like, and Godfall was one of those games that got reviewed very poorly, by a lot of people, but I still played it and highly enjoyed it, namely for the combat. So, like, it's just one of those things where you kind of have to value those different sort of statements. If someone's telling you that they had a specific performance issue on a system, that's objective. Like, they're not going to lie to you about that. But if somebody's telling you that the story's bad or the story's good, for example, everyone that said The Last of Us 2 story is really good, I would disagree with them. Like, it doesn't mean that I would say that that's not correct, but it doesn't, like, those are two different opinions. Maybe they had a great experience with that and I did
well,
not.
see
It's
here,
just
but
like
see,
one of
but
those things.
here's where the objectivity part comes in, because there is a standard in writing, and we can use that as a standard to determine whether a story is well written. Like, for example, like someone could enjoy Last of Us 2's writing. But if they try to tell me it's so well written or the characters are so well done, I can literally break that down and explain exactly why they're not. Because characters do not act like they would based on what we know about them. Stories beats are done poorly or purely for the sake of plot that don't make sense in this grounded world. Like there are writing aspects that you absolutely can objectively grade and use that to a thing. Like one of the biggest things people tell me is that, oh, the theme about Last of Us 2, it's not revenge, it's forgiveness. But here's the thing, guys. Themes only work from writing. You cannot have themes in a story without them being related to the writing. So if your story is supposed to be about forgiveness, but all I'm getting based on the writing, on the dialogue, on the way the scenes are directed is revenge, a cycle of revenge, and I'm not getting forgiveness, that is a poorly written story. Because it does not properly convey its own message. The subjectivity part comes from their enjoyment, but the objectivity part comes from judging it to a standard.
I agree with you on one part of that, where there is, like, the way that a story is set up. If someone is telling you that a specific part of it is doing this specific thing, then you can kind of break that down. But you can't look at somebody and say objectively that this story was good or bad.
But you
because
can,
it's all about personal experience for it. So
but you can though. Like people can enjoy things that are poorly. I mean, fucking look at Last Jedi. That movie's horribly written, and we can prove it. There's countless videos that break it down piece by piece. That there's no way you can dispute that. Whether you enjoy it is irrelevant when you're talking about the objectivity part of it. That's the difference. People can't seem to figure out that you can enjoy things that aren't exactly the best. You know? Like for example, I enjoy Borderlands a lot, but if someone were to tell me, oh, Borderlands story is greatly written, I'm going to say, no, it's not. It's the worst part of that game. My main point is, the reason why you can judge Last of Us stories because there are metrics that we have as a standard. There are standards that we uphold. Like, for example, okay, let's say this, because the game's been out long enough. Everyone knows spoilers. Joel's head gets fucking bashed in by a golf club. We all know this. What if at the end he comes back and like as Ellie's choking Abby, he comes back, he's fine all of a sudden, and people were saying like that's fine, that's well written. No, it's not. It's retarded.
Right.
Well, that's an extreme example, but like you have to have some sort of standard because otherwise, how can you accurately judge whether something is well written or well done? Because there's plenty of movies that I enjoy that aren't exactly well written.
Well, obviously. So yes, clearly, like there is a metric to be used with, with storytelling and stuff like that. And like not to beat the dead Last of Us 2, horse this much, but basically, like there are some structural things with that story. Like the overall story is probably okay. It's the way they put it together I didn't
pacing
enjoy.
is awful. The decisions characters make no fucking sense compared to what we know about them, as well as in the scenario. Like there's a lot of things where it's like
there's a lot of things.
I don't care how much you enjoy it. You can't deny this because this is there. This is in the script. I can see the issue. Yeah, I can literally see it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's my point overall is not saying that there's no objective way to judge specific things in a game. It's just that, like when someone tells you that there is an objective fact about a specific part of a video game, it's not like, don't take that for face value. Like, sure, there are some things that you can pinpoint and things like that, but at the end of the day, it's just one person talking about one thing about a video game. If you like that video game, or if you don't mind that part of a video game, then it's not you can choose your part of that without having an
that's
issue.
My aspect. That was what I'm trying to get across. Is that you like whether or not you find it a big deal. Like I think a good example actually would be Red Dead 2. A lot of people do not like how many animations there are to doing every little thing. Right? And that it can be a slog. I cannot disprove that. I cannot say that's not true because it is. There are a lot of slow animations in that game. Like if you take like 10 or 15 people, it could take you 10 minutes just to loot them all because of the animation.
Yeah, right.
But the difference is, like, it doesn't bother me that much. But I'm not going to say it doesn't bother me, therefore it's not there and it's not a problem. Because no, it is a problem. It's just whether or not you accept it. It's
right, exactly. I mean, that's exactly the whole thing. Is that sure? They're like that technically. That technically happens, but it's not. If it's not going to affect how you experience the game, then that's not that big of an issue. If somebody is harping, so this whole conversation got started around the idea of finding a reviewer that you want to listen to, right? So if that reviewer is harping on something that you don't really care that much about, it's time to find a new reviewer. Are you with me there?
I don't know if I can agree with that 100%. I can kind of get where you're coming from, but that's also because, like, what if every reviewer is talking about this issue? Like,
well, then if every reviewer is
like,
talking about it,
cause at what point are you just looking for an echo chamber at that point? That's my issue. This is why.
Well, I mean, talk about echo chambers. Like I think that I think the idea of an echo chamber is not good either. Like, you have to find reviewers that
that's what I'm saying. I'm not. Let's be clear here. I am not saying echo chambers are good. Let's be on 100% clear here.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying if you're saying, oh, person's harping on something you don't care about, trying to find a new reviewer, that to me sounds like, oh, this person's trying to say something that I don't want to hear about. Let me go to someone who doesn't talk about that, because
no.
You should still take that item into consideration. Just
no. My point of saying that is that ACG goes through their performance. He goes through specific aspects of every game that he reviews, and I agree with, like, those things that he goes through on every game, regardless of whether or not that he likes it or dislikes it.
Okay,
he's hitting on specific points that I care about. Yeah, like, no.
Okay, that was worded. That was worded really weirdly.
Yeah, you don't want to find somebody that you don't like, that doesn't like it, like an aspect. Oh, well, I'm not going to listen to that review. No, just find somebody that talks about the specific aspects that you care about in the video game.
You can see where I got confused. Right? We can talk about if you have a reviewer who's harping on about something you don't particularly care about, trying to find a new reviewer.
No.
That was a weird statement.
No. Obviously not. No, you should. No, you just find a reviewer that talks about the specific aspects that you care about in the game, and then listen to them. If they say they don't like something, then that thing is probably something that you're not going to like. That's what I meant.
Okay. Jesus Christ. Now I was like, oh, what?
No. Of course, we're not going to, like, oh, well, this review doesn't like Last of Us 2. I'm going to go find another one. Oh, this one doesn't like it either.
You'd be surprised how many people I deal with on a daily basis that do act like that. It's ridiculous.
No, don't do that. Just find a reviewer that goes over the topics you care about.
I think the thing we can both agree on is find a reviewer who has similar taste to you. Well, we extended it by 30 minutes. I think that's glad I brought that up.
Off the rails.
Yeah. All right, I think that's a good place to stop. Thank you, everyone, for stopping by for the first episode of the CrabCast. I want to do it weekly, but I'm not certain just because of our schedules. So for now, we'll say every 1 to 2 weeks an episode will come out.
Sounds good to me.
I think that's good. Like, I think Sunday's a good recording day for you, right?
Yeah, that's all good for me.
Yeah, that's good for me too. So, like, as to when it'll come up, I don't know. I have to fuck with the audio, do what I can, and then
next Sunday, no, but the Sunday after, I'm up for it.
Yeah, see, that's what I was saying. Okay, so you know what? Let's do every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks looks good to me.
Yeah, I think that works for us. All right, thank you everyone for stopping by. As always, stay up to date on all things Crab. You can follow me on Twitter via the link in the description below. And as well, if you want to check out Travis's blog at beatthatboss.blogspot.com to see his reviews on things you may or may not like, you can check it out in the description below as well. That's it for me, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Have a great one. Thanks for stopping by.